The Celestial Dialectic, Astrology as a Language of Health, Imbalance, and Wholeness. Professor Piscean here, Department of Sympathetic Studies, University of Luna, archival transcript from the lecture series, The Ancients Map, Pre-Scientific Systems of Knowledge. While modern medicine rightly concerns itself with the mechanistic and biochemical substrates of the body, the ancient art of astrology provides a complementary symbolic language for understanding the archetypal patterns of energy that manifest as health, imbalance, and disease. It is not a system of diagnosis, but one of interpretation, a map of the psyche's influence upon the somatic vessel. Introduction. Beyond the mechanical body. For a millennium, I have studied the stars not as deterministic tyrants, but as a grand celestial language describing the flow of life force through all things. To the astrological physician, a health issue is never a random catastrophe. It is a meaningful event, a symbolic communication from the deeper self, indicating a state of dissonance between the individual and their essential nature as reflected in their natal chart, the cosmic blueprint cast at their first breath. Health in this framework is not merely the absence of disease, it is a dynamic state of astrological harmony where the planetary energies in one's chart are allowed to express themselves freely and in balance with the transiting rhythms of the cosmos. Sickness, then, is a form of celestial feedback. The foundational trinity, constitution, vulnerability, and vitality. Every natal chart outlines the fundamental architecture of an individual's physical vehicle. This is understood through three primary pillars. The ascendant, rising sign, and its ruler. This represents the physical body itself, its constitution, and its innate mode of interacting with the world. A Aries ascendant ruled by Mars may possess a robust, athletic, but injury-prone constitution, channeling energy aggressively. A Cancer ascendant ruled by the moon may have a more sensitive system, particularly the stomach and breast, deeply tied to emotional tides. The sun and moon. The sun, Leo, represents the core vitality, the heart, and the life force will. The moon, Cancer, governs the unconscious, the rhythms of retention and release, the stomach, and the lymphatic system. A weak or afflicted sun can indicate a lack of vital energy. A troubled moon, difficulties with emotional and physical digestion. The sixth house, the natural domain of Virgo. This is the house of routine, service, and daily health. It describes our habits, our relationship to work, and the parts of the body most susceptible to disorder from neglect or imbalance. Planets residing here indicate where our most significant health lessons and challenges will manifest. The planetary archetypes of imbalance. Each planet governs specific physiological functions and, when imbalanced, predisposes one to certain types of illness. Saturn, Capricorn, Aquarius, the principle of structure, limitation, and time. Saturnine ailments are those of crystallization, hardening, and depletion. Arthritis, osteoporosis, chronic fatigue, and diseases related to fear and inhibition. Saturn says, you have neglected your foundation, and now it siphons. Mars, Aries, Scorpio, the principle of action, assertion, and inflammation. Martian ailments are acute, fiery, and often involve conflict, fevers, infections, cuts, burns, and injuries. Mars declares your energy is blocked or misdirected, and it now turns against you. Jupiter, Sagittarius, Pisces, the principle of expansion, excess, and faith. Jupiterian issues arise from overindulgence, liver disorders, weight gain, arterial plaque, and growths. Jupiter warns too much of a good thing has tipped the scales. Mercury, Gemini, Virgo, the principle of communication, connection, and nerves. Mercurial ailments affect the nervous system, lungs, hands, and intestines, anxiety, respiratory issues, irritable bowel syndrome. Mercury signals the lines of communication within your body are frayed. Venus, Taurus, Libra, the principle of harmony, pleasure, and relationship. Venusian issues involve the throat, kidneys, and venous system, often arising from seeking harmony in the wrong places or toxic attachments. The dynamics of disease, transits, and progressions. A static chart shows potential. It is the movement of the heavens that triggers manifestation. A sickness often coincides with a critical transit or progression. A Saturn transit over one's natal sun may precipitate a period of exhaustion, forcing a confrontation with one's core identity and vitality. A Mars opposition to its natal position can correlate with a time of heightened anger or a sudden inflammatory condition demanding the conscious channeling of aggressive energy. A Pluto transit through the sixth house can initiate a profound cleansing and transformation of one's daily health routines, often through a crisis that destroys an old, unhealthy pattern. From this view, the common cold is not just a virus, it is a mercurial event that often occurs when we are overstimulated, mentally exhausted, or forced into communication when we find it distasteful. The body, in its wisdom, forces a retreat, closing the throat and demanding silence, a perfect mercurial paradox. The horoscope of healing. Just as the chart shows imbalance, it also reveals the path to wholeness. Healing is the process of aligning one's life with the highest expression on one's chart. If one has a challenged Mars, the cure may be in finding a constructive physical outlet for aggression, a martial art perhaps. If Saturn afflicts the moon, creating emotional rigidity, the path to health involves establishing nourishing moon structures, Saturn, and routines. An afflicted Jupiter in the 6th house calls for a wise Jupiter approach to diet and routine. 6th house, not deprivation, but conscious expansion into healthier habits. Conclusion. The symphony of the self. Therefore, to speak of sickness astrologically is to speak of a planet's voice once silenced or distorted, now crying out through the physical vessel. An illness is a complex allegory written in the language of the body, its plot drawn from the natal chart, and its climax triggered by the moving planets. Modern medicine seeks to silence the cry, but by repairing the tissue. The astrological perspective seeks to listen to the cry, to understand its message. The ultimate goal is not to avoid the planetary lessons, but to integrate them, to move from a state of affliction to one of mastery, where Saturn gives discipline instead of fear, Mars gives courage instead of anger, and the individual becomes the conscious conductor of their own celestial symphony. For in the end, we are not victims of the stars, but their embodied, evolving expression.